Hey guys, welcome to my channel iKashyap007 where I teach you how to be a better iOS developer. Today I'm going to teach you about hamburger, well not the burger but the hamburger menu that you see on most apps or web. The delicious name comes from its design. I bet you all have seen it. Maybe you just don't know that is what it's called. Have you ever seen the three-line menu on top, right or left of the website or app? That when you click on that comes a new menu. That is what I'm talking about. This is called hamburger menu because it has three lines just like hamburgers. It was originally designed by Noam Cox, who is an interaction designer. He designed this menu for Xerox Star personal workstation. It was originally designed not to show the side menu though. Its original use was to show the contextual menu. Some developers love the hamburger menu because they can pack more stuff into that. Because face it guys, we don't have the liberty to place every option on the landing page. So you can think of this as a side menu but with only most important things. Or we can think of this as a replacement for tab bars. There are always debates going on whether or not it's a good option. For some it's a space saving mechanism and for others it's an icon which doesn't give away its purpose when you see it. Especially if your users are not the tech savvy people. Like it or not, it's a very important part of the app. I personally love it. So let's get started. Click on Xcode. Click on create a new project. Select the single view application. Let's give the project name as hamburger menu. Click on next. Select your destination folder and then create. Couple of things to keep in mind. Hamburger menu usually appears from left to right unless the language of the app is RTL or right to left. In that case, hamburger menu should appear from right to left. But because we are going to work on hamburger menu that appears from left to right, it makes sense to have a button on click of which hamburger menu will open on the top left corner of the screen. Let's start with designing of screen and hamburger menu. If you guys have seen my previous video, I gave a tip about how to open a search bar which can be used to search any class or any folder in whole project. If you haven't seen that video, the link is in the description. Please check that. So the tip was, if you click on Shift Command O, it opens a search bar and you can search any class from that. Let's use that here. Let's search for main.storyboard because that's where we are going to design our screen and hamburger menu. Click on plus button, search for view in this, drag and drop it on the view controller scene. This is the view which we will be using as the background of hamburger view. Set the constraints for it. Let's add another view which we will be using as a view in which hamburger menu will be placed. This is the view for which we are going to manipulate constraints to move it left and right and to animate it. Let's now add constraints for that as well. Let's give this view top height from super view 0, leading space also 0, bottom space also 0, and let's make the width as 280 because that's the width of hamburger menu that I want. We are now going to add a container view in this view. A container view controller manages a view just like any other UI view controller subclass. We are using container view because we want our UI for hamburger and actions for it in a separate class, which is a good practice to write a clean code. Notice that this is a subclass of a UI view controller. Let us now set constraints for our container view. Notice the change in the size of UI view controller of container view as I change the size of the container view. We are going to set top and bottom constraints from safe area because we are keeping the iPhones with notch also in mind. If things go in safe area, it's pretty hard for user to access it. Let's set top and bottom distance from safe area 0 because we want it to be full screen. Let's add a label to this view controller to see if we are able to see the design on this view controller as hamburger menu. Let's run it on the simulator. Okay, wait. Let's also give the background color to background view for hamburger menu and also to this view controller so that we can see the frame of hamburger view when we run the project. Let's now create a class which is a subclass of UI view controller so that we can assign it to our hamburger view. For that, click on the plus button on the bottom right corner, click on Cocoa Touch class. Also make sure that this is a subclass of UI view controller. Now let's give the class name to hamburger and then click on next and then create. Go to main.storyboard and set the class to hamburger view controller. Delete this label so that we can start designing our hamburger view. Also, I have already kind of decided the color code for the app, so let's set the background color according to that. I'm now going to design the UI for hamburger. This is a personal choice and it can look like whatever you like. So let's meet after I'm done with the UI. Let's add a pic now to set as a profile pic. You need to be really very careful while picking any picture from Google, as there can be copyright issues which I don't want to deal with, so I will just use my picture instead. Let's add this picture in our Xcode project and then carry on with the design. Let's add some buttons so that we can dismiss the hamburger menu when we click on it. Remember that dismissing the hamburger menu is not the primary action for any of these buttons. These buttons can be used to perform some action in your app, like going to another page or asking user if he wants to log out, etc. along with dismissing the hamburger menu, of course. In our case, first hamburger menu will be dismissed and then user can be redirected to another page. Of course, that's not always the case. Sometimes you don't want to take user to that flow and you directly want to take user to the next page, hiding hamburger menu simultaneously. That can also be achieved easily here. Let's create outlet for this view so that we can manipulate its properties programmatically. In this case, we are going to give it some corner radius. Create an outlet for this image also, as we would want to change the corner radius for that too. Assign actions for buttons also. We don't need to create separate actions for each button, as this is a demo project and each button can behave same here. Here you can see that we have created only one action for all the buttons. So no matter what button you click on, this method will be called, and we are going to hide hamburger menu from that. We are going to create a private function here which we will call inViewDidLoad to set up the UI for hamburger. We are going to give corner radius to top background view and also to the profile pictures image view. We are done with the UI for Hamburger Menu, but I will create UI for our landing page too, because I want you guys to see how it would look if you integrated this Hamburger Menu to your app. Create outlets for Hamburger view and for the view which is the full screen view behind the Hamburger view. We are initially going to hide back view for Hamburger as it's only needed when Hamburger view is present. Initially Hamburger view will be hidden now because while you were away I have set the leading space for Hamburger view to -280. If you did not get why I set the initial space to -280, I would recommend you to watch my previous video. The link is in the description. This is the same video in which I gave 4 tips or shortcuts for Xcode to speed up your development. I have already created an action for this button. This is the Hamburger button, on clicking of which we will show the Hamburger menu. We will need to unhide our back view for Hamburger as well, because we will be implementing tab gesture on that too, so that when the Hamburger menu is present and you click on that view, it can be dismissed, just like what you see in Google Drive or Uber and many more apps. Let's fix constraint for the table view, because if we keep it this way and you click on Hamburger menu, it will look something like this. This is because our table view's leading constraint was from Hamburger view. As Hamburger view moved, table view moved too. We are now going to create an outlet for this leading space, because we are going to manipulate only this outlet to get the desired result, which is to move our view left and right. Easiest way to find a constraint is to select the UI element, then go to the size inspector and then double click on the constraint. Let's create an outlet named leading constraint for Hamburger view. Let's set it to 0 to show the Hamburger view. Now, because our code for movement of Hamburger view is in view controller, we have to somehow let view controller know that the Hamburger view has to be hidden now. So we are going to use delegate for that. Let's go to Hamburger view controller now. We are going to create a protocol here. Best practice to give the protocol a name is the class name appended by the word delegate. So the protocol for Hamburger view controller becomes Hamburger view controller delegate. In this way, it is easy to recognize. Let's now create a function named hide Hamburger view, which will be called when we click on any button. Let us now create a variable for Hamburger view delegate, and then we are going to make it delegate, which will be the kind of Hamburger view controller delegate. Now when we click on any button, we have an action called clicked on button, so we are going to write self.delegate dot hide Hamburger menu. For getting the callback of action on any button from Hamburger menu, we have to initialize the delegate in view controller. For that, we are going to make a variable for Hamburger view controller, which is going to be Hamburger view controller of the kind Hamburger view controller. Because we are using storyboard, one method which is always called is prepare for segue. We can use this method to initialize our object of Hamburger view controller, because this method will be called only once in app's lifecycle. Now we will have to have an if condition here for checking if identifier for segue is the same identifier for Hamburger view controller, because in real life there can be more than one segues. We have already set an identifier which is Hamburger segue, so we are going to use that. Let's go to view controller and check if segue identifier is same as hamburger segue, and then we are gonna check if view controller is same as hamburger view controller. Now that we are sure that our controller is of the class hamburger view controller, we can assign this controller to our object. We are now going to initialize the delegate. For that, we are going to write self hamburger view controller.delegate equal to self. There is a missing conformance to hamburger view controller delegate that we have to add in this class as well. Otherwise, the callback won't work. So let's add hamburger view controller delegate here, and if you see the warning here, it's gonna populate the method itself so that you can click on fix and the method will be here. We are going to cut and paste that method over here. Now, because there will be multiple scenarios from which we are going to hide the hamburger menu, we are going to create a common method for that. We have created a method named hide hamburger menu, which we are going to call from this method self.hide hamburger menu. Let us now hide the back view for hamburger view first. So self.back view for hamburger.is hidden equal to true. We are going to manipulate the leading constraint for hamburger menu because that's how we showed it. We are going to hide it the same way. Now we are going to see how much is the leading constraint for initially, which is minus 280. So we are going to set that. And now, because here our two methods name cannot be same, we have to change one of the method names. Let's run the project and see how this looks. Let's add tap gesture to our back view for hamburger so that when you click outside the menu, it will be hidden. Let's search for tap gesture here. Now let's add that to back view for hamburger. We are going to create an action for that so that when you click on that method will be called. We are going to create a method now which is going to be tapped on hamburger back view. Because we already have a method for hiding the hamburger view, we can directly call it from here. Run the project and see how this looks. So when you click on show hamburger menu, it's shown, and when you tap on background view of hamburger, it is hidden. Let's give this some color so that we can see that there is a view behind that. Let's set the alpha to somewhere here, because even if hamburger menu is shown, we are still going to need to see our landing page in the background. Let's run the project and see how that looks. Click on hamburger button and see what happens. Here we are able to see the background view behind the menu, but we are also able to see the UI of a landing page. We are now going to make the transition of hamburger view animated. If you're not sure how to do that, please take a look at my previous video. You can see the bouncing animation of hamburger menu when we are showing or hiding the menu, which is very easy to achieve. By the way, if you're not able to understand something from the video, the link for the project is in the description. Do check that. Let's change the animation time to 0.1 so that our bouncing animation is smooth. The code that we have done so far is enough, but it's not going to give our user premium user experience. Our goal is to make a hamburger menu which user can hold on to halfway or drag and play with it. Something like this. We are going to use 3 delegate methods which I have seen very few developers using. These are the delegate methods for touch event. This will give us continuous update on where user's finger is right now on the screen. First of all, we need a flag to check whether hamburger menu is shown or not. We are going to set it to false initially, as hamburger menu will be hidden once we launch the app. Let's call it is hamburger menu shown, and we are going to set it to false by default. Now we are going to set the values to this flag according to whether we are showing or hiding the menu. Let's add those delegate methods that I talked about. The first method is touches begin. This is called when user touches the view for the very first time. The second one is touches move. This method is useful for tracking the finger of user on the screen. Every time user moves his finger, we get a callback in this method. The third one is touches ended. It lets us know when the user stops touching the screen. Let's see a quick demonstration on how these methods deliver the values to us. Here you can see that as I move my finger, which in this case is a cursor because I'm using the simulator, I get the callback in respective methods. Also notice that these methods are not called when user is interacting with table view. We are going to write our constraint manipulation code inside these if conditions, as we don't want to change the constraint and move hamburger menu when it is not open. Here, is hamburger view shown is a boolean value which represents the status of hamburger menu. We are now going to see how to get the exact point on which user has begun the touch. We are also going to see all the points where user has moved his finger, and then we are going to get this point where user has stopped interacting. All these 3 methods are important to us. I hope you understand why I am concerned about only the changes in x-axis. That is because we are concerned about only horizontal movement of the hamburger menu and not the vertical one. That's why only x values of the touch points are important to us. we need to get the difference from the point I have started touching to the point at which I am right now. This is important because we want to move the hamburger menu just those points. For that, we need a variable which can save the x values of initial touch. Now that I have a begin point, or now I know where I have started from, I want to find the difference in movement, which in this case will be in terms of points. Notice that if you move towards the right side of the screen from your begin point, your hamburger menu should also move right. In other words, the leading constraint should increase in value. Similar to that, if you move towards left side of the screen from your begin point, your hamburger menu should also move left. In other words, the leading constraint should decrease in value. We are getting this error because begin point is an optional variable. We don't need to make that an optional variable, so I'm just going to assign it some initial value, which in this case can be 0.0. If you are analyzing the difference when I move my finger right or left from initial point, you will be able to see that the difference is in reverse logic to our logic. That's why we are going to make leading constraint as minus of whatever difference we get. If we run the project now, we should be able to see some movement in hamburger menu as I move my finger. Here you can see that the menu is moving as I move my finger, but it's also moving beyond needed. This is because we have not applied any logic on when to stop changing the constraint constant. We should change the leading constraint constant only if the difference is between 0 and 280. Because if the difference is less than 0, that means that the hamburger menu is totally hidden, because the width of our menu is also 280. Also, if the difference is more than 280, that means that the hamburger menu is visible fully and we don't need to get that out of that left side anymore. If you run the project now, you can see that the hamburger menu is working perfectly fine. Here you can see that the hamburger menu is stuck here. That is because user has started from the point which is very near to the left side and he has dragged the menu towards left side. Here the screen finishes before he can hide the menu. This is where touches ended method can be used. Let's build a simple logic that says whichever half of the hamburger menu is visible when user ends the interaction, that half wins. In other words, if the user has moved hamburger menu more towards the left side of the screen, we are going to hide the menu when user stops interacting. Similar to that, if user has moved hamburger menu more towards right side of the screen, we are going to show the menu when user stops interacting. We need to save the real-time difference for that, which we can get from touches moved method. Let's create a variable to save that. Let's save this difference every time we move the menu. If the difference is less than 140, that means that the hamburger menu is more towards the left side, thus we have to close it. Here 140 is not a magic number, it's just the half of the width of our menu. If the difference is more than 140, we are going to keep the menu open. We will not be able to use our common methods for showing and hiding menu because we have also set bouncing animation in that, which is not needed here. When you run the project and you interact with it, you will be able to see that we are able to move the hamburger menu and all the features are integrated except one. Did you notice how the alpha for the background view changes in other apps like Uber and Google Docs, etc.? The idea is as you move towards showing the hamburger menu, your alpha should be maximum. In other words, your background for hamburger view should be darkest. Also, as you move towards hiding the hamburger menu, your alpha should be minimum. In other words, your background should be lightest. Let's make the background of hamburger view a little darker so that we can see the range of alpha for background view when we move it. I have created or calculated an equation for finding the alpha for movement of background view and for each step of background view. Basic idea is we are going to increase the alpha when we move towards showing the hamburger view. Here 0.75 is the maximum value for us. Also, we are going to decrease the alpha as we move towards hiding the menu, which will be approximately 0. If you run the project now and move the hamburger menu, you will be able to get the rich experience which is possible only when you are thinking about even the slightest and smallest thing, like changing alpha or having the bouncing animation. We will have to manipulate alpha at all the places where we are changing the leading constraint. I recommend you to run this project on your phone and have that user experience. Also let me know in the comment if you are going to use this approach or if you found this interesting. In case you missed something, you can download this project from the link in the description. After some final tweaks in the UI, the final app would look like this. Thank you so much for watching. If you could not understand something from the video, you can always comment down below and I'll be happy to help. You can also download the project from the link in the description. If you liked this video, please like, share and comment. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you so much. Ooh, I can't wait to take this burger. Hey, are we still rolling?